Hey guys, what's up? Justin here. Cliff is in the other room. Cliff gets to play the role of the star today, or the star gets to play the role of Cliff today. Isn't that grand? Hello everybody, welcome to Torn Tuesday. This is your weekly dose of all things Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. We're live streaming every week at 5 p.m. Pacific from Meltdown Comics in Hollywood. 10,000 square feet, awesome. The biggest awesome geek store in the West. And so we're here. They've been a big supporter of the OneRing.net and this show. Hey, we've got so much to talk about, but Cliff has most of it to talk about because he's the authority on Tolkien. I'm just a movie fan, right? Cliff's the real expert. So I'm bringing up the chat. We're streaming on Facebook, on YouTube, and on the OneRing.net/live. That's our main chat room. So I'm trying to bring it up here. So I see Vicky, and I see Kay, I see Caroline, and I see Jason. People are completely split on the news that Amazon got the rights to the Lord of the Rings. Like, it is 50-50. Facebook is overwhelmingly Instagram and Snapchat are freaking out. They love it. And Twitter is about 50-50 on the news. I'd be more than glad to do that with you, but we're live right now. So, I don't know why the chat room is not coming up. So, we're working on the chat room. Hey, Jason says, I just hope that they go to New Zealand and bring in Weta. You know, I think it's time. My feeling is, I think it's time to get some new creative visions, creative artists. Like, look, we've done the John Howe and Alan Lee, you know, and the Weta thing. Like, there's so many talented artists all over the country, all over the world that can work on this. So, I don't know why we're trying to limit ourselves to what has already become. And I feel like they reached the pinnacle of everything. Like, you can't get any better than Lord of the Rings. You really can't.
Well, you could say that. You could say that someone who is a very intrepid New Zealand filmmaker has actually proven with 11 out of 11 Academy Awards that you just can't get any better than that. That's pretty much one of the highest points of artistic achievement in fantasy or any speculative filmmaking. Yes.
David says it's Guillermo del Toro time, and boy, oh boy, I'm all for that. See, I want to see...
Is it Guillermo del Toro time? Could be. It could be. Did you read Mr. Sayre's piece on the OneRing.net that he just published today?
Huh.
Content of Amazon's LOTR series, not so mysterious after all. And he very appropriately guides the audience to take a closer look at the Amazon press release and see exactly what they had to say about it. Quite interesting. We're going to get into that. Welcome to Torn Tuesday, everybody.
And Cliff joins us.
And
I'll be right back. I got to fix something.
Justin's going to come right back in a minute. Am I saying hi to everybody? Hello, everybody. Welcome. It's a live show. It is the OneRing.net doing our Torn Tuesday every week. I'm very glad to be here co-hosting with my somehow temporarily invisible co-host. He just put his ring on. He's going to come back in a little bit. So, yeah, guys. Yes, David Lozano. Yeah, good. It was a good read. Yes, thank you. For any of you folks who haven't taken a minute yet, hey, Eravandi. Hey, it's good to see you on the Ustream chat. If you're watching live, there's a number of places to do so. The OneRing.net/live. You can also watch us on Ustream and on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook Live. Join us. This is the world's biggest J.R.R. Tolkien web community. And this is our live stream show. You're going to get to take part in this show. We have invited couple of people to Skype in with us. We were not going to be at Meltdown because the studio that we've been using at Meltdown Comics has actually been closed. And we didn't think that we would be here today, really. I'm quite surprised that we're able to use this space because it's been repurposed for other use here at Meltdown. So it's kind of, maybe this may be our swan song. You know, after all these years of like broadcasting from Meltdown Comics here in the heart of Hollywood, ladies and gentlemen, this might be our last broadcast because we weren't even supposed to be here today in this studio. Hey everybody, Diane, Jen, Vicky, Carolyn, hello, Brittany, hey Pipsky, how you doing everybody? Yeah, so take a look at the OneRing.net. And you get a chance to take a really close look at our analysis from Larry, Curtis, Mr. Sayre is his byline on the OneRing.net. But take a look at the headline, really big headline, right at the top of the OneRing.net. And it says, content of Amazon's Lord of the Rings series, not so mysterious after all. You see that? I'm going to show everybody this. And you should check this out because Mr. Sayre has given us a really, really useful analysis. I know Pete Northronner, you're here with us also live on the chat. For anybody who wants to join us, we've got a hotline. There's the number scrolling down underneath me, 530-64-FRODO. You can be on the hotline. You can join the chat right now. We're going to talk about this breaking news at Amazon. Jeff Bezos, richest man on earth, is ready and willing to throw down the $250 million licensing fee to actually get his hands on Lord of the Rings J.R.R. Tolkien material. And yet, we have to take a minute to parse through the facts and clarify so much confusion because, again, even though we did talk about this 1 week ago, here we are now, and I remember the rant that I had. Justin, do you remember that? Justin, do you remember the rant that I had last week?
Yeah, I remember. It was a crazy rant. You went nuts, Cliff. You went crazy. You were so crazy. I just had to disagree with you because I'm a contrarian because my name's Justin.
That's all Justin does is contrarian. That's all he is. He's a contrarian. I was complaining and bitching and moaning last week because the only news we had was that it sounded like a retread of the Lord of the Rings story that has already been done to the point of artistic perfection by most people who consider Peter Jackson's adaptation a really solid and really brilliant adaptation. And I was grousing last week because I did not want to see this new, highly trumpeted new TV series on Amazon. I didn't want that to be a retread of War of the Ring. I wanted to just get that out of the way. So that's what I bitched about last week. Now we know better! Haha! Yes, when you take a close look at Mr. Sayre's analysis of the language in the press release, he points out that over and over and over again, they mention the Lord of the Rings, they mention the original cast and crew, they mention New Line Cinema and Peter Jackson's success, and they say, quote, Amazon's Lord of the Rings series will be set in Middle-earth and explores new storylines. Get this. New storylines preceding the Fellowship of the Ring. Boom! Drop that. So, they're very specifically building brand awareness. Let's get that out of the way first. They are building brand awareness, and that is why, as Larry points out, that every single paragraph, over and over again, they're using the phrase Lord of the Rings series. This is going to be a Lord of the Rings TV series. Oh, we're so happy to work with the Tolkien estate. This is a Lord of the Rings series. And then you look again, and they contradict themselves. Ah, okay, you're not really making the Lord of the Rings, are you? And that is why we've had people on Twitter saying, what's it going to be about? What are they going to do? Is it going to include the Silmarillion? Well, I'll tell you what, in just a few minutes, we're going to turn on our Skype, and we'll get Sean Gunner, our special guest. He's hanging out in England. He's with the Tolkien Society. He's our head guy from the Tolkien Society at their main branch there in England. And we're going to get Sean Gunner live on the Skype hopefully he could chat with us for a little while and we could talk about this. Okay, live in the chat, fans are talking. Bruna says, I loved your rant, Cliff, and was with you all the way. Lols, thank you for that. Jason says, and please, for the love of Eru Iluvatar, let Brian Blessed play a dwarf. Yes, I'm down for that. Okay. Hi from Maine. Hello, Jill. Hey, Melbourne, Florida. Hey, Darlene. Wow, look, my stepmom, Darlene. Hey, Clifford Broadway is glad to introduce his family. That's hilarious. Oh my God, I wish that I really wish that Tiffany, my sister, was also live in the chat at the same time. That would be hilarious. So the Broadway family has obviously come together to chat with me live. Hi. Hello, everyone's watching theonering.net. We have big news to consider that Amazon wants to throw down $250 million as a flat licensing fee just to get the rights to do all this material, and they're throwing it out with Lord of the Rings this, Lord of the Rings that. It's in every headline, and as Larry correctly points out, the journalists around the world did their job, and they parroted and repeated what was in the press release. So it makes it sound like an echo chamber of media constantly saying, oh, wow, they're redoing Lord of the Rings for TV? And everyone's like, no, that shouldn't be. But you know it should be? Something that we've been talking about for a long time. Sean Gunner did a blog post years ago at the Tolkien Society website. And years ago, around the same time, I was talking about it at San Diego Comic-Con. We were telling people, left and right, that it is inevitable. Come in, Chris. Come in, Northrop. Come in, Northrop. Crash the show. Come in. Okay? Famed Marvel and DC Comics artist Chris Northrop is about to crash our show. Walk in here. He's also one of the lead teachers at Meltdown University, where they teach comics art classes here. And so, yeah, fans are reacting. I'm trying to get Chris to come in here, and maybe Justin will eventually come back. But how about that? Live on the hotline, 530-64-FRODO. Hey, Lorian. Hello, Lorian. Maybe the Tolkien estate being involved, and that is true, in case nobody has read the press release, it's not just Warner Brothers throwing this idea around. It's like really happening. The Tolkien estate is really behind this project, and it's something we've got to get into in depth. She says, maybe the Tolkien estate being involved means that Amazon can expand stories such as the fall of Numenor beyond what's in the appendices and use excerpts from other works they don't have the rights to, like the Silmarillion, to flesh them out. No, I'm sorry, my dear friend, that's not going to happen. If they don't have the rights to it, then they don't have access to it. Period. So, the terms, the original 1969 terms of that movie deal had nothing to do with TV rights. That was a deal that Professor Tolkien made in 1969 with United Artists. So, I'm telling you, United Artists got a sweet deal, but that deal was only for film rights, not for television. It was only for film rights. Oh, sorry, Lorian. Misidentified. Lorian, thank you. He's he's a he, not a she. Got to get that right. Now, the trick is we're all encouraged that the Tolkien estate is directly involved. Are we not, sir?
We're all hugely excited.
We're hugely excited the Tolkien estate is involved.
And you didn't believe me when I said they were.
Well, I was trying to make sure that it was, you know, not misreported.
Not fake news.
Well, no, I wanted to make sure it was not a mistake in identifying the entity that has rights. But now we know that, having looked at the original 1969 agreement that was written between United Artists and Professor Tolkien, that involved film rights and not TV rights. So it's a whole different bird, right, Mr. Justin?
That's right.
So it could be
no,
nice.
wait, I don't believe that, because The Hobbit was a television production. Not Bakshi. The animated Hobbit was a television show.
But it was made as a motion picture, and
For television.
I have possibly.
But it was. Like, Ralph actually got the theatrical release, and and the
Well,
Hobbit
if you
got
had, if
a
you had
TV
seen
show.
the email that Kristen Thompson sent us,
Yeah.
who's a film historian, who's written
many books,
literally written the book on the Frodo franchise. You got to look that up. Kristen Thompson, the Frodo franchise. Look up that book.
and does it even?
She showed us the text from the '69 agreement. It doesn't
I
include
know.
television language.
Let's bring it up.
We
But
actually looked at that.
So The Hobbit was a television show, and also I just wanted to point out that Amazon is not a television network. It's not on my cable box. I don't ever watch Amazon on my TV. I actually watch it on my laptop and iPad and phone.
Yeah.
So how can we call it a TV series if it's not on a TV network? Because Amazon's not a TV network.
It's actually a streaming network. And
So,
it's actually not called a TV network. It's called a streaming giant, or whatever term you want to call
Prime
it.
Now. I don't know
It's
what
called
you
a
want to call
streaming
it.
network.
So
you know,
so
a
it's
platform.
not even a TV network. So how can we call it a TV series?
David Lozano says, but they only have rights to material in between the cover of the Lord of the Rings book. That is true. And I'm glad Larry made that distinction.
That's right.
I like
And the appendices, A and B.
Thank you for the shout-out, Imlorian, about Amazon being able to expand stories about the fall of Numenor, but they're not going to be able to tell names of the lines of kings unless they're in that appendix. If it's in the Silmarillion pages, but it does not appear equally in the appendix, then they can't use it. Sorry. So lucky for us, the Appendix A includes a little couple of paragraphs about the fall of Numenor. Guess what else Larry pointed out? The appendix in The Lord of the Rings also mentions Morgoth. We get a mention of 3 jewels. We get a mention of Beren and Luthien. We get quite a few mentions of major historical points that are discussed in great, great, great detail in the Silmarillion, but we don't get to use anything, and when I say we, I mean Amazon. We, as fans, cannot expect any material to come out of this developed project if it's specifically not within the pages of The Lord of the Rings.
Well, they said that the press release written by the Tolkien estate and Amazon did say that a lot of content from Tolkien himself that aren't in the books, including letters and notes and things related to The Lord of the Rings, are included in this deal. So it sounds like that the Tolkien estate has basically provided all rights to anything having to do with Lord of the Rings. Silmarillion off the table, although there's some overlap between the Silmarillion and some of the notes and letters and some of the stories in the appendices. But this is about the Third Age. This is about Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit.
Stuff before the Fellowship of the Ring is all it says.
Right. But it includes letters.
Includes notes, letters, stuff. Yeah, extra stuff.
All the stuff. So we're not just
stuff related to Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So we're not just talking about the books as we've known it since 1969.
Jessica says, hello, has there been any word from Christopher Tolkien about this new project? I know he had some unpleasant words, to say the least, about the recent 6 films. Jessica, thank you for that comment on the hotline, 530-64-FRODO. And the answer is no, nothing from Christopher himself, but a spokesperson for the Tolkien estate.
They basically
named
speak on behalf of Christopher Tolkien and the family.
That man who is speaking on behalf of Christopher Tolkien and the family is as good as the word of Christopher himself, right?
Right.
He's the representative of the estate. And he's mentioned as, what's his name? Someone we've never heard of before.
It's probably just a lawyer or he is a legal representative of the Tolkien estate. So he
representative of the Tolkien estate and trust.
And trust. This is
Matt Galsor. He says, quote, Sharon and the team at Amazon Studios have exceptional ideas to bring to the screen previously unexplored stories based on J.R.R. Tolkien's original writings. And we do like that, based on J.R.R. Tolkien's original writings.
Right.
So with that language and with the new legal position that the Tolkien estate is enjoying, and as you pointed out in previous talks we've had on a previous broadcast, Justin has pointed out that the settlement that they did much earlier this year between the estate and Warner Brothers elevated the position of involvement where the estate now has their fingers in the pie a little bit more, and the creative process
They don't
quite
want,
a bit more.
Basically, the words, the rumors that we hear, and again, opinions and rumors here, that the Tolkien estate did not want a repeat of The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. Why wouldn't you want a repeat of Lord of the Rings? I don't know. But as everyone knows, Christopher Tolkien and members of the family did not really like the movies. The movies strayed very far from the book. In fact, Sam and Frodo should have never been in Osgiliath. I mean, we had some hardcore fans storm out of the theatrical screening of Two Towers when they were like, you know, Sam is like starts his speech. By all rights, we shouldn't even be here.
And there were people who stood up and said, "You shouldn't be there." Yeah, that happened. Look, I was just as pissed off as anybody that they were dragged all the way to Osgiliath. The only thing I've still eternally, this is evergreen, I have an evergreen complaint against Peter Jackson. And you know what that is? The scouring of the Shire. It never happened. That's my #1 bitch complaint.
And there's no problem in it. That, you know,
I'll keep bitching about it.
Anyway, there's a lot that weren't included in the movies, but we could they can expand on those stories, and even though we didn't get Glorfindel or many other characters, and let's not talk about Faramir and how different he is in the book. Although, and look, the movies are perfect films, but they deviate from the book. So the other thing that was part of the settlement that we hear is that, remember the drama of The Hobbit, that Guillermo del Toro spent 3 years. He moved his family to New Zealand.
Yes, he did.
And what happened? The rights got all mixed up and muddied, right? And Guillermo had to leave the project because he was sitting there for 2 years and without doing anything. So that part of the July settlement with Tolkien estate is they resolved and reconciled all rights between MGM, United Artists, Saul Zaentz, Harvey Weinstein, Weta, and anyone else that had a piece of the Tolkien rights. And rights of first refusal was part of that.
Yes,
so,
that's right.
So that's why we're really excited. I'm really excited that the Tolkien estate is engaged. They're going to be a part of this. This hasn't been a secret amongst the Tolkien estate people. In fact, Royd Tolkien, who's been on the show and is a great friend of the website and was at our parties that you fans funded yourself, Royd Tolkien posted on his Twitter and Facebook that he's excited to finally share the news, and he was so worried about spilling the beans.
Spillage. Bean spillage. You know what? There's something that has to be said about, the speculation machine. And it begins now. Now that we know more details about what's going on, we can crank the speculation machine into full gear.
Well, I really like some of the ideas that I've seen on Twitter. In fact, I really like the idea of Riverdale with elves.
Riverdale with elves?
Yeah, have you guys watched that amazing show on the CW, the WB network?
That's their adaptation of Archie comics.
And Warner Brothers is producing that, and it's a great
Archie
show.
comics,
and it's our friend Cole Sprouse is on that. Cole and Dylan Sprouse, of course, big Tolkien fans. Dylan's been on the show.
He's a good buddy of ours, yes.
That's right.
Yes.
So Cole Sprouse is in Riverdale, based on the Archie thing. I think they could reboot a angsty elf show. And instead of calling it Riverdale, of course, it's Rivendell. I'd watch that. I would watch a show called Rivendell.
I would. Jesus, someone stop him.
Hey,
somebody stop me! Somebody stop me!
These are Twitter recommendations.
Recommendations.
That I agree. Also, the interesting thing, a lot of our Hollywood
Thank
writers,
you, Iravandi. I appreciate that.
A lot of writers in Hollywood actually tweeted out.
Hire me. I'd love to work
hire
on
me.
this.
It was very surprising
because they don't have a showrunner yet.
It was very surprising that normally when you announce a new TV show and a spinoff, you announce it with a writer attached or a showrunner attached. That did not happen here. In fact, it seems like there is a blank slate with this.
Wow. We're already getting calls on the hotline.
Let's take it.
Okay. Hey, you're on the OneRing.net. Where are you calling from?
Hey, Cliff, it's me, Chris. How's it going?
How you doing there, Chris?
Chris Calisuri, co-founder of the OneRing.net. You've been doing this since '99.
This is actually a different Chris. This is Chris Reyes from Story to Screen
Oh, it is.
podcast. A totally different Chris. Is that right?
Hey, how's it going, guys? You guys been having a good day?
You're
Very good.
Your voice fooled Justin. He almost thought you were someone else.
You say it exactly like our co-founder.
That's funny.
Well, we're a week after the whole announcement or the rumor, because it kind of started off as a rumor, but it looks like it's officially happening. So I'm excited about going back to the world of Middle-earth. Couple questions for you guys. I think they're still early in the development, but does this article seem to confirm that this series is at least set in the Peter Jackson universe? Whether Peter Jackson's involved or not, does this article seem to confirm it? Because it did say it does take place between The Hobbit and Fellowship.
It does not. It does not. And that's one of the misconceptions that Larry, Mr. Sear, posted this morning. There's no connection or relation to Peter Jackson's Middle-earth. They made it a point in the press release to call out that the events in this show will be set before the events of Tolkien's Fellowship of the Ring. They made a specific point to say Tolkien's Fellowship of the Ring, not Peter Jackson.
They also said that they have not reached out to Peter Jackson at all, which has been confirmed. They haven't reached out to Peter.
Okay. I didn't see that in the article there. Okay. So this is as of right now, this is completely separate, 100%.
100% clean slate.
It could be at any point in time.
See, to me, that's kind of a little disappointing now.
But we don't. That doesn't disconfirm the other possibility that they may yet reach out and work with the design team at Weta and all the people working with Sir Richard Taylor and his team.
It's a clean slate.
It still may, in exactly as we want, exactly as we anticipate, it might be brought into a cohesive alignment with the existing design of that Peter Jackson universe, but we don't know yet.
Oh, okay.
It's just as likely.
I just found it very peculiar that they would in the announcement, they said they would set it between The Hobbit and Fellowship. And we've already got those two interpretations already from Peter. I guess then it's kind of like, well, why not set it in there? I mean, is there like legal issues? I guess the next step is they would probably want to try to get Peter involved. And when you have that guy on, I would ask him, just ask, what's his name again, Sean Gunnery?
Mr. Sean Gunner. Yeah, I was trying to Skype him in because he's being very kind to stay up till 1:30 in the morning in England. Yeah.
Sure.
So,
I would ask him real quickly about Peter's involvement, because I think that's, or at least, or there's at least a possibility that interpretation could still be connected. I'm still kind of crossing my fingers that it is, because that's the world I identify with.
Yeah, but there's an entire generation of fans that want a fresh take on Tolkien, and they don't like what Peter and Weta delivered with The Hobbit. Peter, Weta, and Warner Brothers, I should say. It wasn't just them, but what we got with The Hobbit was not what anyone wants with this series. So, hey, we appreciate you calling, Chris. We're getting so many calls right now. We're going to take some more.
Yeah, Mr. Chris, very good to hear your voice, but we don't necessarily know that it's conscripted to be in between The Hobbit and Fellowship. The only thing it literally says in the press release is before Fellowship, and that could be stuff in the appendix that goes as far back as Numenor. In fact, Appendix A and B mention a certain 3 gems, a certain Morgoth. A lot of those things are mentioned in the appendices, so it could be lots of interesting flashbacks dropped in at appropriate times. But as far as Peter Jackson's involvement goes, I doubt very much Peter would personally want to be involved again in this. He really didn't want to go back and do The Hobbit. He was forced to go back and do The Hobbit. and he got some flack for that because of the loss of Del Toro. So he got some blowback for that. So we'll see. I'm more interested in seeing design elements like armor, weapons, physical design elements, and the music of Howard Shore. That's the stuff that I'm most interested in seeing brought back in to overlap in this new series. But it could go that way, or it could go any other weird possible way. It makes you wonder. So, and you know what?
I don't think Peter has to be involved to oversee the thing. They could even, if they're fans of the film and they want to connect it that way, and they're working with Warner Brothers, they basically pretty much do that. But yeah, that's kind of a creative process that they'll have to figure out themselves. So.
Yeah, well, let the speculation machinery commence. We get to have now months and months and months of wild speculation on all the fan websites. It's going to be fun, a fun time for all of us.
I'm sure.
Yeah, and then the inevitable casting announcements are going to start trickling through. Oh my gosh, it's going to go on.
Who would you like to see? Like, if they connect us to the films, who would you like to see from the film universe on the TV show?
Too early to speculate for my part, because I'm trying to play it safe, and a lot of us, including Sean Gunner, have been accurately predicting that this thing as an anthology series would even happen. And some people have actually speculated that they only need to pick one character or one omniscient narrator to tie it in to Peter's previous universe, and the rest of it could be all new casting and new actors and actresses. I'd love to see something like that. But in our lead article that's on the OneRing.net today, Mr. Sayre said something that I very much agree with, that Elrond Hugo Weaving, Mr. Lord of Imladris himself, he would be a great character to have as a central point of historian and narrator, to go backward and forward in time through all these anthology stories, and it'd be kind of cool.
Yeah,
I think.
Definitely.
I'd agree with that.
Too.
That's a good speculation to have. But yeah, God knows I would love Ian to come back and do it, but I don't know if Ian would. Ian was not that happy working on The Hobbit. But anyways, hey, it is true that. We'll speculate on casting much further down the line. What we'd like to cover tonight is clarifying some confusion, because most people are still yammering and stammering and pounding their fists on the table about this happening and it being a retread of The Lord of the Rings, and it's not. So we want to tell everybody the truth, and I want to see if I can get Mr. Sean Gunner on Skype. Chris, join us. Join us anytime, brother. Anytime. Always welcome here. All right, you guys, and we'll talk to you very soon online. Thank you, man. Cheers. Wow, the phone lines are blowing up. The hotline is, I've never seen the hotline go bam, bam, bam. It's like amazing. Okay. Let's see what we've got here. TheOneRing.net, Mr. Sean Gunner. If you are still awake, and I hope you are, I'm going to send a little private note to Mr. Sean Gunner. And this is the DM time. Time to send a DM. Okay, there you go. Sending that to you, sir. And I hope he answers. Are you still awake, my lad? We are on Skype. The One Ring Net. That would be, take the dot out of it. That's right, the One Ring Net. Okay, there's Emily. I'm sorry, Emily. We're keeping the Skype open for the head of the Tolkien Society. Emily, I would love to have your call on Skype, but not at this present moment. We'll let you call back into the show a little bit later. Hey, Folkowena, nice to see you live. Hey, Julie Crystal, how you doing? Hey, there's Christopher Stanfield, Ransford Walker. Everyone's talking about all these options. Yes. Is this going to be live action for sure? Hey, Nate, we don't really know yet. It could be. I think that the live action is exactly what they're going to go for, because of the success of Game of Thrones, that I think they're going to make this live action. There's There's no indication that it would be animated. Not at this point. Following up on our live Facebook, chatters are with us. Jason is there. Jason Bondi says Clone Wars is animated. And in terms of technology, art, and wardrobe, it was in keeping with the rest of the Star Wars universe. And it was a great success. I loved Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels and all that stuff as a side anthology series is canon. It is canon with the Star Wars world in the movies, and it's quite possible that we could too. We could have a really decently made, wonderfully produced Lord of the Rings or pre-Lord of the Rings. I want to make sure everybody knows this. This is not what they call it. In the press release, they call it over and over again in a very transparent attempt to build their brand. They call it, this is the Lord of the Rings series. We're making Lord of the Rings, but they're not. They're making a story that is not the Lord of the Rings. It's pre-Fellowship of the Ring. Just want to make that super, super, super crystal clear. Bruna Valerius, now that it's been announced, when is the whole process going to start? Great question. Writing, casting, filming, full production, and all that that does. Does that have a date to air? No. We don't have any dates yet. They have all got this in the really, really preliminary stages. So we really don't know yet. All right, we really don't know yet. Sean Gunner, if you are there, we're calling out to you live. Oh, hey, watching Torn Tuesdays with Carolyn. I love you. Carolyn Knight, you're the best. Drinking port wine. That's fantastic. All right. Drinking port wine. Sean Gunner, if you have a chance to Skype with us, our Skype is open. It is the One Ring Net. Join us, and we will talk with the gentleman who's the head of the Tolkien Society in England. Jordan Van Ryn. Yes, I'm so excited for the prequel series. I want to see the stories they got in the Middle-earth universe. Yeah, I want to see these stories too. I'm very, very enthusiastic, I have to admit, because last week I was all ready to grouse and just like, you know, I was ready to knock somebody down last week because nobody wanted to see the Lord of the Rings itself, that story of, you know, what happens in the War of the Ring. And nobody wants to see that done as a retread, and they couldn't do it. How could they top what Peter Jackson did? They couldn't top him. They could not improve upon his work. So, to know that it's going to be a prequel series that happens before The Lord of the Rings, I'm very, very, very excited about this. Okay, Sean, you're welcome to come and join us on Skype. Other people are calling in live on the hotline. 530, number 6, number 4, FRODO. There's Brian. Hey, that's my buddy, Brian Martin. And there's Jason Bondi. Brian says, hey, Cliff, is there any word whether Amazon would tap into the One Ring as a resource for development? Nope, there's no word on that. But I tell you one thing, Amazon Studios would be very smart to have a good, healthy relationship with us at theonering.net because we are the world's biggest and the best, and still the most dynamic, vibrant Lord of the Rings fan community and Silmarillion and Hobbit fan community. All of us, fans of Tolkien. Very briefly, Emily. What's up? Emily? Oh, hey, Emily. Emily, since Sean Gunner hasn't called her back, I'm going to call you back. Okay, so we're going to see if Emily wants to Skype. We're going to call our friend in England. It's nice that our friends are staying up so bloody late in the evening. Hey there, Emily. What's up? Hey. We are waiting for Sean Gunner to call in, but he hasn't called in yet. So, hey, Ellen Design. There's Ellen Design. She's in the Ustream chat. Yes, there's been a lot of griping and swiping. Oh, look at that beautiful puppers. Hey, puppers. How you doing? Show the folks at home.
And she's why I haven't been on the OneRing.net in quite a while.
Oh, because you're taking care of a new puppers. That's super cute.
Yeah.
Congratulations. That's really cute. You've got a cute new member of the family. That's cute.
So I'm not usually awake at this time of night.
Really?
She keeps me awake.
That's hilarious.
Well, she gets me up. She's been for quite a few months. She's been getting up early.
Ah.
And I've been going to bed early yesterday. But yeah.
So hilarious. That's great. Congratulations. That's super cute. Oh, look, she's yawning. She wants to go to bed.
She sleeps in a mesh crate at the end of my bed now.
Oh,
so.
that's cute. Congratulations on your new adoption. What's her name?
Poppy.
Poppy? How cute. That's very cute. Emily,
Poppy.
very cute. Before we go, what's your opinion on the possibility of an Amazon TV series exploring the appendices and all these pre-Lord of the Rings stories? What do you think of this, real quick?
I'm thinking, I'm going to wait and see, but I'm thinking if it can be liked by the Tolkien estate, then I'm hoping that maybe, just maybe, if they like it enough, they might release more rights, or sell the rights to other Tolkien books in the future.
Possibly. You never know. You never. At this point,
It'll be interesting to see what they do with it.
yeah.
It'll be interesting to see some of the things that were missed out character-wise, like Tom Bombadil from the movies, and yeah, I'm keeping my mind open to it.
Good. There you go. Yes.
I'm gonna wait and see what happens and decide
Good.
after an episode or two of watching whether I'm going to carry on or whether.
Nice. I agree. Good. Good to stay in that frame of mind. As I said on my Twitter feed earlier today, I am cautiously optimistic. That's very nice. Thank you, Emily, for calling in and being part of the show. That's awesome to see you, my love. Very nice to see you.
Yeah, good
All right.
to see you too.
Big hug and kiss to the puppers, to Poppy.
I think she's just gone into the kitchen.
Good, good. All right. Well, she's ready for second breakfast. That's right. Even though it's 1:30 in the morning where you are. All right, guys. That's cute. We're going to open up the Skype lines for Sean Gunner from the Tolkien Society. Bye-bye, Emily. Good to see you tonight. Bye. That's great. Okay, guys. 530, number 6, number 4, FRODO is the hotline number. Oh, look. Someone's calling. Hey, this is the OneRing.net live. You're on the air. Where are you calling from? Hello? Hello, hello? Hey, are you there?
Yeah, I was trying to come over to the One Ringer.
Yeah, you're live on the OneRing.net. Where are you calling from?
Oh, nice. I'm calling from Maryland, actually.
Hey, buddy, welcome aboard. Okay, what do you think of the big news?
I am super excited, and one of the things that I thought about, I just recently started a Cubicle 7 5th edition D&D campaign, and all of that material is set, right after The Hobbit, but before the War of the Ring. Those guys might want to just contact those people because they've got a lot of ready-made ideas for source material and stories. And
Nice, yeah. You've got a whole campaign already built up around that. That's great.
yeah, absolutely.
That's very cool.
And I also use some of my old Iron Crown Enterprises MERP source material for this campaign as well.
Oh, I used to love that game. That's fun. Iron Crown Enterprises, for the audience who doesn't know yet, they used to have the license a number of years ago, to say the least. They had the license for these really cool Middle-earth games, and they had the Middle-earth card game that was in pretty much in the Magic the Gathering marketplace, wasn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, good stuff. Oh, I have fond memories of that. That's really good. Dude.
So if they contact you guys, that might be a good suggestion for them to, with the Cubicle 7 folks. They've got some source material, and there's a lot of guys that still do writing for, Other Hands now?
Yeah. How cool is that?
I can't remember the name of the guys they do a lot of fan writing for Middle-earth. I believe it's Other Hands is the name of the blog.
Yeah, Other Hands. And that is true. I remember that because the name of that comes from Professor Tolkien, in one of his own letters, in his personal letters, he thought that he could create a larger canvas of mythology that other artists and quote-unquote other hands could take an attempt at, to take a crack at it. That's right. That's so cool, man. That is very cool. And actually, it would probably look really good, you know? The optics of that would look great if the production company was reaching out to, you know, hardcore fan bases that have already established, you know, digging into the lore like that. I think that's great. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There's so much possibility between the Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. I think Cubicle 7 did a great job using that time period. There's still a lot going on. The player characters can have an impact in the world, and not feel like they're locked into a certain, you know, endpoint. We know that the Lord of the Rings is going to happen, but in between time, the player characters can have a huge impact, and they could take that and expand on that for stories for this new TV series.
Indeed they can. All excitement. My attitude has changed 180 degrees, buddy, since last week, because we only had this inclination that it was going to be a retread of the story, the basic story of the War of the Ring. And nobody wants that. Now that we know from this new press release that they're going to do all this stuff that fleshes out other corners of the world, I'm ready to sign up right away. I'm very optimistic about it, actually. Definitely.
Yeah, I'm super optimistic, but I figured you guys would be a good you know, touch point to maybe suggest this stuff too. But Cubicle 7, I think they would be a huge source of material for these guys. Like, don't reinvent the wheel. Talk to the creative people that are already generate stories and ideas for this time period, and I think help them tremendously.
Indeed, I agree. That's a great tip, man. We will. So, you know what? Now that you're on the show, you're going to be on the archive, so they'll be able to see this anytime later, and they should definitely contact those guys at Cubicle 7. I love it.
Yeah, it's nice to be part of the work that you guys are doing.
Yeah, man, dude.
However small it is.
So good. So good. Thanks for being on the show tonight. What's your name, brother?
My name is Dan.
Thanks, Dan. Thank you very much for calling into the show. That's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you guys for putting me on and chatting with it.
Anytime, man. Anytime. We'll see you next time. Excellent. All right. That's good. Callers are coming in live, and if you want to, you can send us a message. You can even call in and be live on the show. 530 number 6 number 4 FRODO. And I'm really digging this. We're getting all these messages. Oh, man. How about that? Somebody says that they would like to see the Children of Húrin made into, and of course, Mr. Sayre, Larry Curtis, who is the gentleman who we keep referring to. You've got to check out the main page of theonering.net. I myself am going to be posting an article with my editorial comments on this announcement. But go ahead and take a look at the cover story that Mr. Sayre has put on the One Ring. He's in our live Facebook chat right now, helping quash the rumors. That's a good job. Thank you. You're doing a great job, Larry. We do need to quash a couple of rumors. Rumor number 1, they're doing the Silmarillion. No, they're not. Sorry. Quash that rumor. They are not making the Silmarillion. 2, they're remaking The Lord of the Rings as a TV series. No. No, they're not. Quash that rumor. Squish it. Squish the rumor down. So stomped down into the dirt like an angry orc squashing down. Do not believe that. Even though the press release and all the clickbait that you're clicking throughout the interwebs is making you believe that, they're not making The Lord of the Rings, okay? Rumor number 3. We're going to quash this, okay? It's going to involve Peter Jackson. Nope. Nope. Quash that rumor. Sorry, we don't know yet. It might possibly involve the design folks at Weta, who worked on Peter Jackson's adaptations, but they have not reached out to any of them yet. So, no, got to quash that rumor, okay? What's the 4th rumor we can destroy? Squash that rumor. Hulk smash. That it would be animated. Okay. Rumors are going around, oh my god, are they going to make an animated Clone Wars series? We would like that. I'm down. I'm one of the people who's loving to speculate that that'd be really a good thing, but no, we have no guarantee that that's going to be the case. I rather have an inclination that they're going to make this live action just like Game of Thrones is, okay? So we've quashed a bunch of rumors. Now here's what we do know. What we do know is that it involves the Tolkien estate, it involves Warner Brothers, and it also involves New Line Cinema, which had been mostly absorbed back into Warner Brothers after the commercial failure of The Golden Compass, which was a big-time box office failure. And so New Line Cinema was no longer freestanding. They got absorbed into Warner Brothers. So we also know that New Line is involved. So that doesn't mean Peter Jackson is involved, but New Line is. We got a tweet back from our friend Mark Ordesky. He's one of the lead producers of Lord of the Rings trilogy, and he said, nope, he knows nothing about it, and he's not involved. Okay? So now we know for sure. They're not rethreading the needle into that old cloth, okay? So, but let's just see what's going on here. Christopher Stanfield in the Facebook chat says, the only other person I would want to see compose music for any of these series, other than Howard Shore, would be Chance Thomas. Yep, he's darn good. His music for Lord of the Rings was and is amazing. Yep, there you go. Animated Game of Thrones, I could go for that. Emily Sorensen, just chiming in. What did I miss? Oh my gosh, Emily, what did you miss? That's funny. That's very, very funny. Okay, so, wait, what? I thought Chris Northrup was going to come in here. Hold on. Where's Justin? Where's Justin? Where'd he go? I don't know. Justin disappeared, so I'm going to keep talking to you guys. You want to talk about possibilities? The possibilities are, from the outright, that we're going to have all new actors, all new music, and all new design elements for all this stuff. However, it might look like, and it might include, very similar design elements to the original 6 films. We don't know yet. But it's open. It's just completely open. It could get negotiated in any direction. It could be anything. So it will be a couple of series, a couple of seasons, let me say that right. It'll be a couple of seasons that will cover other Middle-earth stories before the Fellowship of the Ring begins its considerably important events. Janessa, I love you, Janessa. It's good to have you on the show again. Welcome back, Janessa. Is this the first time the Tolkien estate has shown support for a film based on Tolkien's works? I was too young when Fellowship of the Ring came out to be aware of such things. And the answer is yes, Janessa, although this is not a film. The Tolkien estate has never shown support for any of Peter Jackson's films. None of them. But now they're showing their support for a TV series. And really, the estate is throwing their weight behind it. It is interesting that that they want to let everybody know that it's Lord of the Rings. They want everybody to believe that it's Lord of the Rings. But I tweeted out some speculation about the kinds of stuff that we might actually see. This is actually really good, though. I'm down for any of these possibilities, and this is what I have pinned to the top of my profile. The hunt for Gollum. There's a lot of stuff that happens where, you know, and that might not happen. The hunt for Gollum might not be till like the final season of this series. Bless me. Where they're going in right up to the beginning of Fellowship. So then there's the dwarves, Moria fail. I wrote down dwarves / Moria fail because they tried to go back and reclaim Moria, and it ends very, very badly. That could be a whole really interesting season. Yes. Oh, stories of Elladan and Elrohir, the twin sons of Elrond, Lord of Rivendell. Or maybe young Aragorn meets blank. Insert character here. I'd be down for that storyline as well. Young Aragorn meets blank. You could insert the name of any character you want. That could be very, very interesting. I wonder. Yeah, Chris, you're more than welcome to call in. We have another hotline. For the music, I would love to have the music creator of Game of Thrones make music for the new Middle-earth series. Ooh, Eruana, that's a really good idea. What's his name? Who's writing all that music for Game of Thrones? Yeah, that might be cool to have him write some themes for the Lord of the Rings. Or, you know what? We're going to have to come up with a better title for the show. One bit of speculation that we should start speculating right now. Anybody who wants to call in, Chris, Reyes, you're welcome to call back in. 530-64-FRODO. That is something we can speculate on right now. The name of this series is not going to be The Lord of the Rings. It's going to be something else. What should it be? What should the name of this series be, since Amazon and Warner Brothers have said that it's not going to be The Lord of the Rings, even though they're trying to tell us it is? So what do you think, guys? What possibilities? Any new titles for this prequel series? Let me think about this. 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 What could be a good name? How about, before, no. Anything that's lame. Like, before Frodo, before the quest. Hey, Nigel? Yes, glad you could make it tonight. You guys want to call in? Raphael? Stories of Middle-earth? Okay. The Third Age? Chris? That's possible. But you know what? It's not going to just be limited to the Third Age. It might be the Second Age. Sagas of Middle-earth? Or just call it Middle-earth. Hey, that's simple. I like that, Jason. There you go. Jason, that's an excellent name for the show itself. Just Middle-earth. Plain, straight up, that's the title of the show. Middle-earth. Wow. Not Saga of Middle-earth or, Ancient Heralds of Middle-earth or Shadows of Middle-earth or, it doesn't have to be Shadows of anything or, we don't have to use any platelet overlapping title. It's clean, simple, just Middle-earth. Tolkien Tales, Pete, there's an idea. Tales of Arda, that could be interesting, but Arda is not a branding thing. They're really interested in increasing awareness of branding. And if the audience doesn't know what it is related to Lord of the Rings as a massively recognized, popular intellectual property, then they might not go with it. But I do like just plain Middle-earth. Janessa says, people are liking simple names. Yes, they are. I would love Bear McCreary, the composer for Outlander. Nice. Yes, Barbara, that's a good one. That's very, very good. David Lozano says, not so popular Tales of the Lord of the... There you go. Tales of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. That could be key. Unfinished Tales? Well, David, wait a minute. David is like, let's call it Unfinished Tales, but that's an existing book that they don't have a license to. They're never going to be able to get that. One season could be Middle-earth. Hey, there you go. Christopher Stanfield, we're on a roll. It could be Middle-earth, blank. And then the name of that particular season would be the subtitle. And that's how they do it on American Horror Story, which is American Horror Story, Roanoke. Or, hotel. So it's American Horror Story, blank. The first season was American Horror Story, Murder House. But they didn't renew the branding and change that until later on. It became Asylum, and then American Horror Story Coven for that next season. So it could be Middle-earth, The Return to Moria, or Middle-earth, The Realm of Arnor. Okay? The next season, which cover totally different tract of characters, could be Middle Earth, Twin Sons of Rivendell, or something like that. It would be all Eladan and Elrohir. See where we're going with that? Middle Earth, colon, blank. Let's see, what could another season be? The Hunt for Gollum. There you go. Middle Earth, colon, young Aragorn. You know, I like that. Okay, everybody seems to like this. Are we on the same page, everybody? Yeah, you go. Randy Sims, Middle Earth, colon, the Iron Hills. And set everything, or Anuminos, right? Let's just explore Angmar or Anuminos up in the north. And that subtitle will be the changing, rotating subtitle for every season. How about that? I'm digging that. Hey, Pipsky, how you doing? Maybe we will see Gandalf tell Aragorn his heritage and him becoming a ranger. Yeah, we'll definitely see stuff like that. Maybe, and do you think we shall see any future high... Oh, yeah, I hope we'll see some of the Shire. Maybe we'll see some of the Shire, but not much of the stories of Middle-earth concern hobbits at all. Except for, you know, when they have the fell winter. That winter when all the wolves came attacking from the north, and the Shire folk had to defend themselves from wolves and wargs of the north. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, Rise of the Witch King. There you go. Middle-earth, colon, Rise of the Witch King. Yeah, see? That's probably what they might do. Like, what's his name? The guys who produce Feud. Well, the first season of Feud was Betty and Joan. The next season that they're making is going to be Princess Diana and Prince Charles. So it'll be Charles and Diana. And that will be their next season. Feud, colon, Charles and Diana. So that's what they're going to do. I think the guys at Amazon might be smart to do that. Yeah, Eravandi, I agree. I really, 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 really want Eladan and Elrohir on screen. I want that so bad. They would be incredibly foolish if they did not do that. If they didn't do a whole entire season dedicated to Eladan and Elrohir. Hey, Jim in Texas. Well, Jim in Texas, thanks for texting in. All right, we've got someone calling in live. Hey, you're live on the OneRing.net on Tuesday.
This is Chris again.
How you doing there, Chris?
Coming in and you're talking right now, but probably I should give you a little support since Justin's not on the show right now.
Jim in Texas says, I would love for them to spend time with more of the history of Durin's folk. Yes, Jim in Texas, that could be a whole standalone season in this anthology series. And remember, the terms of the deal, as we know them, Chris, thank you for joining back into the show, is that this is a multi-season commitment. It's a multi-season thing. So these multiple seasons could definitely branch out to far-reaching threads of narrative, all stuff that we have in the appendix, right?
Yes. Now, here's something else, too. I think one of the best things about some of the recent shows, like with HBO recently, they've done, like, True Detective. I think there's another show on television, I just can't remember what it is, but you know, like with True Detective, they did or Fargo. There's another example, Fargo.
Yeah.
They do individual storylines that are not, like, in the following season, they're not necessarily connected, they're in the same world, but they're not necessarily connected. They're all little, maybe 10-part storylines. I think now with Amazon. Okay, now help me out here. With what did Amazon Studios produce? Just to refresh my mind, they don't do Stranger Things, correct? That's Netflix.
That is correct. That is made by Netflix. Amazon Studios has produced popular series Billions and The Man in the High Castle and
Yes.
and a couple of other things. I think Paul
House of Cards, right? House of Cards is not one of them, right?
House of Cards is Netflix. I think Paul Giamatti is one of the stars of Billions, and they have a pretty wide-reaching success with Man in the High Castle, which is a really good show. And they've done a couple of other things, too.
So, I mean, I think, and another thing you mentioned earlier is the Tolkien estate being involved. all know that the Tolkien estate wasn't particularly fond of Peter Jackson's interpretation. It makes you, now that we see the Tolkien estate involved, I think, thinking about it now, Cliff, I think you're probably, or Justin is probably right, that this isn't going to tie into Peter Jackson's continuity. Would you agree on that? If the Tolkien estate is involved,
Yeah.
it's pretty much kind of...
Look, if they're gonna stick in characters and places and things that Peter Jackson never ever did, like Tom Bombadil and Elrond's two sons and stuff like Aragorn's past that was never ever touched upon, then they're not necessarily beholden to stay true to the canon of the existing 6 films. They don't necessarily have to. As soon as they put in
For you as a fan,
for
would you personally be disappointed by that move, if that was the case? Just personally as a fan.
no, because I think
Connected at all to the Peter Jackson universe.
no, I think I'm ready for a fresh take.
You're ready for a fresh take?
I am.
Okay.
I think personally, I'm ready for a fresh take. I was ready for Guillermo del Toro to give us, Beorn's hut walking around on giant chicken legs, because that's what it was going to do. I mean, if The Hobbit had been done by del Toro, it would have been so radically different. We all would have been alternately pissed off or delighted, because he was going to change some really weird things. Like, can you imagine Beorn's house getting up like the hut of Baba Yaga and walking around? Because that's what it was going to do.
Like the flying house.
Well, like, a little bit of Miyazaki, of Howl's Moving Castle moving around. It was like, what?
Yeah.
So,
Really, he was going to go for that type of nonsense right there.
all
Really? I didn't
that,
know
yeah,
I
so
never really...
I was ready for that back then. If I was ready for it back then, and I've got to be intellectually honest with you and everybody else, I'm ready for a fresh take, because of the promise in this press release that they're not doing the same story of the War of the Ring. They're going to let us look at wars in the north with Angmar, and if they put in Barrow Wights and Tom Bombadil, then automatically you've gone astray from Peter's established canon. And I'm all for that. But if there is an overlap, like an omniscient narrator who happens to be Dominic Monaghan or Hugo Weaving or somebody, great. I'm all down for beautiful overlaps, but I wouldn't really be bitterly bent, and as a fanboy, I would not be too put out, really, if they do some surprising recasting of familiar roles. However, woe be to the actors who have to step into Ian McKellen's shoes, because you're going to have nothing but suffering comparisons to the original. So, I'm down.
Go ahead.
I'm just saying I'm down for the possibilities of what might come.
Yeah, I don't know. That's something that, of course, it has to win me over. It has to really, because I mean, look, it has been, how long has it been? Like almost 18 years since the trilogy came out, and I mean, look, right now, I'm actually rewatching the films right now. Like, I just went through the first 2 Hobbit films last night, and I have my problems with them, but I am still like yearning for that world. I'm like, I want to go back to that world. And, heck, I'm going to be hitting the big trilogy in just the following night with Fellowship of the Ring. And I'm never tired of that world. Yes, sure, you want someone to bring in their fresh interpretation, but, and this is going to tie to what I'm talking about, you have the Shadow of War video games, the Shadow of Mordor video games. Those have been they haven't really said straight up they're connected to the films, but they have kind of given visual nods
Yep.
to that universe. I mean, you've got a Gollum that looks exactly, if not basically the same Gollum. You have a Sauron that looks pretty identical, different, but pretty identical. And none of the major Lord of the Rings characters ever appeared other than Gollum. I mean, do you think the Shadow of Mordor games, it would be something like that type of interpretation where it gives nods or it kind of hints that it could even exist in the book universe. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean, good sir. Yes, they could. Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War, which are hugely successful installments in the ongoing exploitation of this intellectual property, they are meant to use Weta elements and Weta designs, and they do. That's why your Sauron armor and your Celebrimbor look and your concept of Wraith and what it looks like to be in the Wraith world, all of that is purely connected to Weta designs. So, you know, even if the TV producers at Amazon, if those producers and showrunners bring in a bunch of different directors and different actors, it still would be beautifully elegant, and it would really help us a lot visually, and I'm supporting you in this point, good sir. You're right. It would be very helpful, and it would be conducive to everybody really getting into it a lot easier if they did use Weta and kept congruency. If they did keep congruent designs and cultural motifs of what their fabrics and armor and what their styles all look like and their weaponry, then yes, that would go a long, long way to helping the audience feel like they're in the familiar and to make the audience feel like that's where they want to be. They want to be back in that Middle Earth that was designed and looks that way. So yeah, I'll support you on that. But as much as we'd like that, I'm a little bit more intrigued day by day at the possibility that they may branch out beyond and do other weird things. But you're right. I think from the producer's point of view, it might be the smartest thing to do to keep congruency with Weta's original world, like the video game world does. So yeah, good stuff. Now we're getting a ton. We're getting dozens and dozens and dozens of hotline messages. I've got about 14. I got 14 new messages from the hotline. All right, let's see where this is coming from. A lot of these are broken down. I don't mind bringing in new people to work on the same world. I'm sorry, this message that someone sent me, it came from an Android, and I'm using an iPhone, and it got broken down. And this is one big text that got broken down into lots of little chunks, and I can't read it because
Yeah, I know what it's like on my phone.
they're all out of order. They're completely out of order. Someone mentions here that Star Wars Episode 4 and Star Wars Rogue One, you still know you're watching the same world. It's from the same world. Great point. Okay, I got that much out of it. Yeah, so, yeah, how about that? And that's a good point. Rogue One and the other offshoot separate films in the Star Wars world are doing their damnedest to make sure they look stylistically and from a design sense that they look like they're from that world. So, really, it would be kind of like a very good idea, Chris, in support of your original point, that they keep Peter Jackson's team, Richard Taylor's team of designers on there.
Sure.
Yeah.
And, I mean, would Peter, would it be expensive, too, to have his name attached? Because I know, like,
Oh, yeah.
in television,
Yeah.
I heard that things can get really, like, having certain people's names attached to some things can, even if you're not involved, like 24/7, and you're just involved, like, say, like, 1 hour out of the week or 30 minutes, you still get a huge sum of money because your name is attached to that project. Would they be a risk having his name attached to something like that, even because it might be very expensive? Does that make any sense?
Who knows? Maybe one of the term, if they do want to go with Weta, keep in mind that Weta is co-owned by Peter and
Yes.
other people, including Sir Richard Taylor and Tanya Roger, Richard's wife. So, as it so happens, if they decide to not pull Peter in at all as a consultant or as an executive producer or nothing at all with Peter, then they're still going to be getting into bed with his company if they approach Weta. So he'll be tangentially involved in that case. Yep. Yep. Could be interesting, but I don't... I really don't see Peter making any moves or making any motions that he even wants to be involved in this. Maybe he's kind of happy to let everybody else take the ball and run now. He's tired.
Yeah. Now, do you think, because there was a video with him like a couple months ago, or a couple years ago, it was like after the last one that came out, he kind of said right there that, hey, maybe there might be some stuff in the future, like as if he knew something was going on. I don't know if that was just a PR move, or if he was just trying to wiggle the fans' interest into thin air, I don't think maliciously, but you know which video I'm talking about?
I do. Wasn't that the one where he was talking about directing an episode of Doctor Who, and then Doctor Who, being chased by a Dalek, actually runs through his house, and there's a big book of the There's a book, a copy of... I'm talking about the video where there's a copy of the Silmarillion in the foreground of the shot, and it's stuck with a lot of pink Post-it notes that makes it look like he's going through the Silmarillion and making story notes. And there's all this playful talk with his daughter, and they're like, oh, did you get back in touch with Steve Moffat or what's-his-face from BBC? He really wants you to go and direct an episode of Doctor Who. And they start bantering about that. But that's not the video you're talking about. Oh, okay. Well, that is the video that I'm mentioning has caused, well, for lack of a better term, a shitstorm of wild speculation and what I would rather call unearned excitement. Really unnecessary, unearned fan excitement, because he was just being a trickster and wanted to direct an episode of Doctor Who, and he had the Silmarillion in the foreground just to get people all giggling and bent out of whack that he's going to direct it or work on it in the future. But
has not happened yet.
No, but maybe the other maybe you're talking about a video too where he's being a trickster again. Maybe.
Yeah, here's the video. See. There it is. It's at it also has Ian McKellen too. Do you see it by any chance?
No, I don't know. Are you showing it to me in the live chat? Because I'm busy looking at.
It's in the live chat, right? I'm sorry. It's in the Facebook chat. I'm sorry.
I'm actually monitoring several different chats because we have multiple platforms streaming.
Sure.
Yeah.
Whenever you get a chance, I actually just put it in the thing there. But yeah, there's a part that, and even Ian McKellen kind of says, like, even hints that there could be more. So, I mean, for all I know, this could be just a wild goose chase if they're just throwing at the fans.
Well, no. If you know, if we accept the facts in the Amazon press release as accurate, then that video you've just linked us to is something that's not related to this announcement at all. And it couldn't possibly be connected because we've got confirmed...
No. This was years ago. This was like
from years ago, yeah. Yeah. Well, if this was years ago, then I don't think it would have any relevance to now, because what's happening now is because of the recent lawsuit being settled earlier this year, and the Tolkien estate has said terms of that settlement include that they're going to be elevated in the process of all this stuff. So I'll take a close look at that link later on. I don't think I remember this other video. All I can remember is all the fans getting their panties in a twist over that Doctor Who video because he had the Silmarillion in the foreground of the shot. Remember that?
Yeah.
Okay, I see Justin's return. I will return you back to your regularly scheduled program host.
That's okay. My regular...
Sorry, Justin. I was just coming in because you were gone for some time.
All right.
It's okay.
Thanks for calling.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Good to have you again, brother. Thanks. So everyone is now speculating.
16 minutes? You didn't take any calls for 16 minutes?
I've taken several calls.
I apologize on behalf of my
Are you kidding?
co-host here.
I have taken several calls.
Look, I'm excited.
What are you talking about? I've been taking calls non-stop all through this show.
I am excited.
Are you kidding?
That in the press release, they made it a point to say New Line Cinema will be managing this project for Warner Brothers. We did not see New Line Cinema on The Hobbit, did we? In fact, they started to roll in.
They had their logo.
Was New Line Cinema's logo on The Hobbit?
Yep. I think New Line's logo is on The Hobbit.
Can you guys verify that? Do you guys remember if the Hobbit movies had New Line Cinema? I'm excited that New Line Cinema, they're basically rebooting the brand of New Line Cinema in the studio to manage this Lord of the Rings project. And
well, no, actually, New Line Cinema was quite busy producing the very successful adaptation of Stephen King's It.
Did
which
it?
Came, yep, that was New Line Cinema.
Oh, so they're flush with cash this
Yep,
year.
they're busy, yeah. And actually, New Line Cinema is going to be directly involved in making part 2 of Stephen King's It. So, but yeah, they're back on track. They love doing horror movies. New Line Cinema always loved doing horror movies back in the 90s, in the 80s and 90s, remember?
Yeah.
That's how they got their start.
Yeah.
Doing stuff like
Look,
Nightmare
and,
Before Christmas.
You know,
Nightmare on Elm
someone
Street.
pointed out on Twitter this week, and I thought we should have a whole another show and conversation about this. But one of the reasons that he felt that The Lord of the Rings was so successful was that Peter Jackson was a horror director first. And basically,
there's that.
You had the studio come in and say, how do we take a rated R, bloody director and make him PG-13 in fantasy world? And I think that's why The Lord of the Rings is so good, because he knew how to make a horror film with all the prosthetics and blood and violence and weapons and scared looks. If you go to our Twitter profile,
thank you, David,
pinned to the top.
Mark. Yes.
Pinned to the top of our Twitter profile is a long thread on how Lord of the Rings has so much fear in it. Everyone is scared in Lord of the Rings. And that's because Peter Jackson is a horror director
and knows how to handle that.
And knows that horror succeeds when the characters are scared. So here we are, and I think... Look, there's many ways to do it. I think that this TV series, it's not TV, it's Amazon. This Amazon series should be should take a look at Star Wars Rebels. I think there's something interesting to do with CGI animation.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people on our Facebook page were demanding that this be a hardcore rated R, true Tolkien violent epic. And some people were like, let's take it back to the Hobbit animation and make it more kids and family friendly and bring in a whole new generation of fans through Amazon streaming. And I think those are the three things that are really interesting. Make it kid focused, PG, make it funny, or make it horror film, go back to Peter Jackson's roots and make it more like Lord of the Rings, which with a horror tint. Or
with
make
a horror tint, yes.
Or make it an animation, a dramatic animation story like Star Wars Rebels. There's so much we can do. Folkawena says, yes, New Line's logo was on the Hobbit films. Thank you for confirming.
Well, actually, about a dozen people. I was just saying, like David and everybody confirmed, yes, and Mark as well.
Yes.
You guys, thanks for being such an excellent, and very engaged audience tonight. Where were you?
Here's what I want to do with the next few weeks of fan fervor on this show, and I want you guys to prepare. And I
want you to stay in the seat with me while we talk about this fan fervor.
I'm trying.
Stay with me.
So I would like.
The audience loves you.
Let's just say that in 2006.
Thank you, Zachary.
In 2006, yes. Cliff went to San Diego Comic-Con in front of a packed room of 1,200 fans, and said, there is no chance we're going to get Hobbit films, but if we ever get a Hobbit film, we would like to cast this man, Martin Freeman. And we had a picture of Martin Freeman in our Comic-Con presentation from 2006 before anyone had any hint that the movies were being made. 3 years later, Martin Freeman himself was cast in the movie. First by Guillermo del Toro, then by Peter Jackson.
Yeah.
So the fans influenced the casting decision for Bilbo, and he was the best Bilbo we could possibly get. So I want
if only we'd seen more of him.
I want the fans to take a good hard look at the current realm of acting from every country, and say and make some wise, informed decisions of who best represents certain characters that we want in this TV show. And because every actor is going to throw their name in the hat, Stephen Colbert on down.
Yes, he is.
So let's have a conversation over the next few weeks of who we think should be cast or put on the short list for some of these new episodic series. And again, this could be really fun, where there's new characters that we're following, but then they interact in different episodes with characters that we're familiar with that maybe weren't on the screen.
Indeed.
So I think there's something interesting about doing that. So this has been... That's what I have to say about this. I'm still gathering my thoughts. And I do want to say this, and we should have said this at the start of the show. The OneRing.net, we're a Google News verified source of information. We take everything that we post on the website very seriously. We run it by a series of editors. It is run like a newsroom, a virtual newsroom, where there are fact checks, and we try every effort to publish only true and fact checked information at the OneRing.net. On social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, we play fast and loose with fan excitement, anticipation, rumors, but if you see it on the OneRing.net, it carries a little more weight, and I just want to say that opinions that you read and memes that you see on our Instagram and Facebook and Twitter page are just that. They're fan memes versus the quality that we still maintain. We still try to maintain on our website.
We do maintain that. Mark Halland, Christopher Plummer as Gandalf. If there ever had to be a replacement for Sir Ian, then maybe yes, Christopher Plummer might be one of those veterans that I might turn to as a pretty decent possible replacement for Ian McKellen. Yeah, Christopher Plummer, that's a good possibility. But I would never want to see Ian McKellen replaced by anybody. Wouldn't it be kind of fun if he showed up as a guest Gandalf in a couple of episodes here and there?
Look, I think
a couple of episodes guest starring.
I think there's something fun about having different actors play the same roles in different episodes.
Yeah.
Kind of like what American Horror Story does each season, but maybe
we talked about that while you were gone. Yes, yeah.
A different Gandalf every episode.
That'd be hilarious. That'd be fun. Yeah, different. Yeah, it'd be kind of fun. Yeah. You know what? We were actually talking about what would the title of the series be, and I was accepting the nomenclature that they use for American Horror Story and for Feud and the other show they do, American Crime Story, where they start with a basic title and then go colon, and then change the subtitle for every season.
I like it.
And we were saying it should just be called Middle Earth
Story.
No, just Middle Earth, colon, The Hunt for Gollum. Or Middle Earth, colon...
That's what they did with the video game.
War with Angmar.
Middle Earth, Shadow of War. Shadow of Mordor.
Keep that consistent. But I mean,
I like the idea of like the Star Wars did, where it's just a Star Wars story, maybe a Middle Earth legend, or a Middle Earth story, or a Middle Earth tale.
Eladan and Elrohir, a Middle Earth legend. But we like the idea of Middle Earth, colon, drop, subtitle.
Do you think they're going to use the word legendarium, which Tolkien himself attributed to his story?
I used to think so. But I don't anymore. My opinion has changed on that.
Well, let's talk more about this next week.
I don't think they'll use legendarium. It's not good for branding.
Thank you for joining us this week. We're here every Tuesday, 5 p.m. Pacific at this same time. And
yes, Janet Alvarez, I love you. Lots of dragons. And she's right. We want lots of dragons.
I appreciate it. Thank you all for sticking with the One Ring through all these years. I knew back in July that we were definitely getting more Tolkien, and I'm so glad that it's actually happening. And Jeff Bezos is a fan, and as we know for Peter, Fran, Philippa, even Jim Rigel, when he was on our show, he said,
yes,
I only try to hire fans on my Lord of the Rings because the fans produce better work. And Jeff Bezos is a fan, and I can't wait. So
guess what? I bumped into Michael Pellerin at the Rock and Roll Ralph's.
Yes,
just a few days ago.
Oh boy!
And he was like this. I gotta talk to you. He was so funny. It was great. He was like, I gotta talk to you. And I'm like, you know what, brother? I said, let's go break bread together and we'll sit and talk. And he's like, off the record. And I'm like, yeah, off the record.
Right.
Let's go talk off the record.
All right.
He's great.
Cut the camera.
Bye, guys. Thanks for being part of our show. Hey, follow me on Twitter and Instagram at QuickBeam2000. Follow Justin at Justin's Big Idea. And see us next week live on the OneRing.net. Thank you again for joining us. We'll have